The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At daybreak, on the first day of the week, the women who had come from Galilee with Jesus took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they entered, they did not find the body of Jesus. While they were puzzling over this, behold, two men in dazzling garments appeared to them. They were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. The two men said to them, "Why do you seek the living one among the dead? He is not here, but he has been raised. Remember what he said to you while he was still in Galilee? That the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified and rise on the third day." And they remembered his words. Then they returned from the tomb and announced all these things to the 11 and to all the others. The women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James. The others who accompanied them also told this to the apostles, but their story seemed like nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb, bent down, and saw the burial cloths alone. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Time is of the essence. That's a fairly common phrase. And yet it has a deeper meaning than I think most of us ever really think about. If we paid attention, close attention, to the readings that we had now this evening, we can see a new and important dimension to time. And that is that the creation symbolically took place in 6 days. And then on the seventh day, there was no evening. The seventh day, the day upon which God rested, there was no evening. Why? Because the seventh day continued. Continued until the time of Jesus. Continued until the death of Jesus. It's significant that Jesus died on the sixth day. That means that we had not yet reached the rest, the Sabbath of God. And then, on the Sabbath, on the day of rest, Jesus, his body in the tomb, descended to the realm of the dead to bring God's work for them to completion. And then he rose up on the 8th day. Now, in the Christian calendar, the first day of the week is also the 8th day. And whenever you hear the phrase that we are living in the last days or the end times, what that refers to is the fact that that 8th day has not ended. That 8th day opens up to eternity. It is at the heart of our Christian faith that we died with Christ. And in a very real way, that means that the real death we have already experienced, because we are now living in the power of the resurrection on this 8th day. The day of the Lord's resurrection continues throughout the rest of time. And that will open into eternity. And so today is truly our moment of recalling this progress of time. Throughout the worldly ages, including the Sabbath, the completion of God's work in creation, but the beginning of God's work in redemption, which leads to the 8th day. The 8th day that we are now a part of, the 8th day that will never end. That, I think, comes very close to the heart of the meaning of the resurrection for us. That we, with Christ, are now walking, are now actually living in that day that will never end.